Hi, welcome back to the Gambling Chef Kitchen. Today we're going to be making one of my very favorite holiday recipes, which is Gravlax. This is a Swedish recipe for cured salmon, and it's really, really easy, I promise. And it just needs to cure for a few days in your fridge. You can freeze this for months in advance and pull it out the day before you're going to have your celebration, and then serve it to your guests and impress them, hopefully. So let's get started making our Gravlax. Okay, let's get started curing our salmon. This is such an easy recipe. I hope you try it. Do not be intimidated by this. The first thing though I want to talk to you about are peppercorns. And now these are small and I have it kind of focused far away here. But this is a black peppercorn and this is a white peppercorn. And we're going to be using white peppercorns today. I get actually kind of angry when I've heard people say, oh, well, you can substitute one or the other. You cannot. They do not taste the same at all. White pepper has a completely different flavor than black pepper. I don't recommend substituting. So if you're going to do this recipe, just buy the white peppercorns because that is what you need. And this is a Scandinavian recipe, and that is a more common ingredient in Scandinavia, also in Asian cooking as well. So just be aware of that when you are getting your peppercorns. So what you're going to do with your peppercorns is you are going to grind them. You can crack them with a pan. You can put them in a plastic bag and smack them with a rolling pin. I have a mortar and pestle, and I just wanted to show you something I do to make sure that they don't bounce everywhere, because this is 1.5 tablespoons of white peppercorns, and I started pounding it and they started going everywhere. So I took a piece of plastic wrap and I made a little hole in the middle, and I wrapped it on the top and then poked my pestle through there. And that actually helped me from having them spray everywhere, especially on the sides. My hole got a little bigger because I was doing circular motions, but I wanted to show that to you because it was just a little trick that I discovered today when I was being resourceful. Go me. In this container right here, I have 3 tablespoons of salt and 3 tablespoons of sugar. That's it. And then this is the 1.5 tablespoons of white peppercorns that I've pounded. They do not need to be super fine for this recipe. You're making a cure. So I'm just stirring this together. And then that's honestly it. Over here, we've got our fresh dill, and that's the other ingredient that's going on our salmon. Like how much easier can it get? You can seriously, this does take a couple days to cure, but throwing it together is so fast and easy. And it has the ability to allow you to make a lot, like a large quantity of salmon if you want to. So, okay, I think that's stirred together enough. We're now going to take our salmon. This is wild caught salmon, which I recommend. I don't love farmed salmon. And this is actually a little less than 1.5 pounds, and this will make quite a bit, but you could do 2 pounds, 3 pounds, 4 pounds. If you're going to go above the 3-pound mark, I'd probably make a little extra of this cure because it might not quite be enough for a 3-pound. But all we're going to do now is we're actually just going to coat these pieces of salmon and we're going to give them a little massage. So we just want to make sure that this cure gets in all of the crevices. You do want to get the skin of the salmon as well. If everything doesn't stick, that's totally fine. This is all going to liquefy in the first 24 hours that this is in the refrigerator. So please don't worry if you have sugar sitting around, you're like, oh my goodness, it's not dissolving. It's fine. Everything is totally fine. This is easy. And this is the kind of recipe they would make in Sweden and Norway and the Scandinavias, because this is something that would allow fish to be good longer. So I love old preservation methods, and this is just one way to cure fish so that it lasts. You know, they didn't have refrigerators way back in the day. And some remote places probably didn't have refrigerators even for a long time. So again, this is just one of those really cool methods, and it's so easy. It's so easy. We love that. So I'm just picking up some of the extra salt and sugar mixture on the bottom. What we're going to do now is we're going to take our bunch of fresh dill, and I'm not even doing anything fancy to this. I'm seriously like laying it on the top. And you're going to take one piece and you're going to turn it and flip it, and you're going to put it on top of the other piece. That is as complicated as it gets, everybody. I'm just getting the last of my cure mixture sprinkled on here. So that's it. Tuck these pieces in. All right, the last thing I'm going to do before I put a weight on this is I'm gonna cover this dish in plastic wrap. So I will do that. You don't have to watch me do that. And I'll be right back. Okay, so I covered my dish in plastic wrap and I am now gonna weight it down. So what you weight it down with kind of depends on what you have laying around in your kitchen. I have an 8x8 baking dish here that's just about the right size of my salmon. And on top of it, I have this big box of kosher salt and I have a can of tomatoes. So use what you can. It really doesn't matter, but make sure you've got your plastic wrap on the outside and then put your weight on the top. It's gonna sag the plastic wrap down in the middle, totally fine, totally normal. And this is going into the refrigerator for 24 hours. And then we're gonna check on it and drain the liquid, and I will see you then. All right, it has been 24 hours and if I tilt this, you can see all this liquid. So I'm going to go dump the excess liquid into the sink. I'll be right back. The next thing we're gonna do is we're just gonna give, my mom calls this our sandwich, a flip over, and that's it. I can feel that the texture of the fish has already started to change. It's a lot firmer, so you'll feel that when you flip it over. I'm gonna recover this with plastic wrap. I'm gonna put my weights back on top, and then we are gonna put this in the refrigerator for another 24 hours. I'll see you tomorrow. All right, I have taken my salmon out of the refrigerator and I took the weights off the top and now I'm taking off the plastic wrap. We are done curing, believe it or not. So it's a 2-day cure and there's just one last step that we have to do. So I'm going to open up my sandwich here and I'm gonna take the dill off because it has done its job. And then you'll see too when you start checking out your salmon that the texture has like firmed up a ton, and that's exactly what we want. And the last thing we're gonna do before we freeze this, because we're gonna freeze it, is just get some of the excess peppercorns and stuff off of it. It tastes good to eat some of these, but you don't want like lots in your salmon. So I'm just using a paper towel, I'm just giving it a little wipe. I'm wiping the back off. This is a little moisture on the back. That a little blot. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wrap each of these pieces individually in plastic wrap, and then I'm gonna wrap them in aluminum foil. And they are gonna go in the freezer for another 24 hours. And once that freezing process is done, it is good to go. You can eat it. It's ready to serve at your next holiday party, or honestly, I mean, bagel and cream cheese, yes, please. This stuff is so good. So next time I see you, it will be after the freezing process has happened and we are gonna taste together because there's a delicious dip that goes with this. So I will see you in a little bit. I'm so excited to taste this with you. All right, the last thing we're gonna do before we cut into our salmon is make the dipping sauce. So in a bowl, I am going to add a tablespoon of sugar, a tablespoon of Dijon mustard. And no, I'm not being like super exact with this, but these are, you know, the proportions that you should use. This is a tablespoon of red wine vinegar. Let me use my fork to make sure I get all of this delicious mustard off of here. Beautiful. And then this is about a tablespoon of chopped fresh dill that I'm putting in. Okay, I'm gonna mix that together. And then we are going to whisk in 1/3 of a cup of olive oil. And I'm gonna try to emulsify this to the best of my ability. If it separates a little bit, it's not the end of the world. I'm also trying to film this at the same time, so I'm gonna pick this up and tilt my bowl. You could do this in a different type of container that's maybe You can get your whisk in here, but I'm trying to make everything look pretty for the camera. So I'm using my beautiful white bowl here. This dipping sauce tastes so good with the salmon. You can serve without it, but I wouldn't. Definitely make this. It's like a salad dressing, essentially, except it's got that little bit of sweetness from the sugar. All right, getting there. That looks pretty good. Nice and emulsified, and this is what we are going to serve with our Gravlax. And I'm going to show you how to cut that right now. Okay, so our goal is to make nice thin slices with our salmon. So we're going to go this way. You really don't want to go this way. You want to go opposite of the grain. So we're just going to make really nice thin slices. I'm going to take a second to get a bigger piece because we're going to be working at a bias, and my particular piece of salmon is pretty thin anyway. So we're just going to be patient in making our slices, but you want to make them as thin as possible. So this is a pretty good one coming up here. And I'm seesawing my knife. And then you can also kind of pick it up. Sorry, my piece is moving around a little. And then that's like the perfect size piece that we're looking for right there. So you just do that. I might have a little bone there. I did actually pull the bones out of this fish before I cured it, but I must have missed one, which is okay. You're slicing it so thin that, you're going to see if there are any bones in there at all. You're definitely going to see them. So we just continue to do that. And if the pieces fall apart a little bit, that's no big deal. It's totally fine. So you're making beautiful pieces of salmon, and I'm going to continue to cut this, and then we are going to taste together. I seriously can't wait. This is one of my favorite things in the world. Okay, it's my favorite time to taste our beautiful Gravlax. I'm very excited about this. I can't decide which one to choose. Okay, this is gonna be a big bite, so it's gonna take me a minute. What can I say? I know what I'm having for dinner tonight. It's so delicious. The fish is so fresh. Smoked salmon is delicious. I love all smoked salmon pretty much. But this is different because it has a similar texture, but it doesn't have the smokiness. You really taste the fish. And then with this beautiful dipping sauce and a little extra dill, you can use cream cheese too if you want on your crackers. I really hope you try this. It's so easy and it's so great for entertaining. It makes you look like a total pro. So be sure to give it a test. And you can find this recipe and all of my recipes at thegamblingchef.com. Please be sure to follow me and like my videos on Facebook, and subscribe and like my videos on YouTube. And I'm also on Instagram, and I will see you next time.